Number 10. The wolverine fish. Hugh Jackman, if you're watching this, I love you. Also, this one's for you, pal. Let's do it. This year alone, there have been over 200 discoveries of freshwater fish. 200 more reasons why I'm not swimming in fresh water. Here we go. One of which is the X-Men inspired fish, the Hoplioncistrus wolverine. Yeah, these fish have strong lateral curved spikes called odontodes tucked under their gills, and they can extend and jab their prey with these prongs, these 3 prongs, hence the name wolverine fish. It's kind of cute, I don't know. I like the claws, which is terrifying for sure, but they're tiny claws, right? Just swimming around, Julius Caesaring people in the water. Number 9, the frilled shark. Okay, back in 2004, marine biologists discovered this dinosaur, I guess, the frilled shark. Let's talk about him. Lurking about 870 meters below the surface, this guy looks like an eel at first, you know, and then you get closer and it's not, it's even scarier. Frilled sharks can grow up to 7 feet long, which is like, you know, a foot taller than this lanky shark here, and they can fight like Daredevil. They can hunt in complete darkness. They don't need to see anything to mess you up. Unless you're skinny dipping, you don't need to worry about the frilled shark. He's not really buzzing around anywhere, thankfully. Frilled sharks are only found a mile below the surface. Have you ever dealt with one of these? Are you a diver? Have you seen a shark in person? I saw a shark once, but it was a nurse shark. Also, it was one of those like aquarium things where like you can like go in. I don't know. I was terrified. Number 8, the walking worm. Nice. I had the same nickname in high school. Let's talk about them. Meet the Hallucigenia fortis, named by Simon Conway Morris in 1979. Now, Conway Morris named it Hallucigenia fortis because of its bizarre and dreamlike quality. Isn't that dreamlike and nice and lovely? No, it's more bizarre. There were over 109 specimens of these strange aquatic creatures found, and they range in size from ½ centimeter to 3 centimeters long. Not too large, but still terrifying nonetheless. And since it was an invertebrate, it lacked a spine. Also, just like me, I'm like Gumby, you know, with this, I don't know what this is. Oh, hear that crack? Defining features of the walking worm, as its name suggests, were these tentacles that protruded out from the body, which it would use to walk around. It had spikes that it maybe walked on. How terrifying is that? In 2015, scientists realized where its real head was. Yeah, we thought a fossilized stain was its head for like 35 years, and then in 2015 we found its real head. And it looks like it's grinning, and it has 2 eyes, so dare I say worse than the stain observation. Number 7, the ruling squid. For ages now, sailors from Norway and Greenland have shared tales of a giant sea monster. Now, with tentacles big enough to pluck you out of your boat. Doesn't this sound a little familiar? In 1857, Danish naturalist Johannes Steenstrup found a large squid beak, and soon after, he was sent parts of another specimen from the Bahamas. So he got all these gross fishy parts, just a nice stinky table of work, and then he thought to himself, could this be the kraken? These parts were a part of a species called a giant squid. It's called Architeuthis dux, yeah, which translates to ruling squid in Latin, which is terrifying. The ruling squid. Okay, you got it. You rule the ocean, therefore I'm not going in it. Very little is known about giant ruling squid, of course, because they're so hard to track down, but we did get a photo of one back in 2005 and a video of one in 2013. Both are equally as terrifying. Check them out. Eyewitness reports from sailors also describe a 60-foot squid, so those reports don't sound as crazy after you see this, right? That's also totally an alien, like 1000%. We can just nip that in the bud. Number 6, magnificent alien. While the rest of the world was in panic mode, a new sea sponge was discovered in 2020. How fun and cute is that? Again, we're gonna poke around and touch him and then it's gonna go extinct, so enjoy him while it lasts. He was named Adviena magnifica, which translates to magnificent alien. The sponge literally gets its name because it looks like ET. How amazing is that? And to be fair, it does look like ET. An ROV found this sample over 6,000 feet deep in the Pacific Ocean. They found it in what they call a forest of weird, which is an excellent nickname given what has emerged from it. Just an alien sponge sticking their ET head out for some food. That's all we're looking at here. Christiana Costello Branco, the researcher who found this deep sea squishy, explains the discovery in an NOAA interview, saying that as all of these organisms are intricately connected, by documenting and describing marine biodiversity, we are building a better understanding of life and the impact of humans on Earth. In this case, in the ocean. End quote. Yeah, that sounds like some Martian type stuff. I don't know how I feel about that. It's like, hey, we have no idea what's down below. Shall we continue searching? I'm like, no, we shouldn't. We should stop searching. This little guy is the key to humanity's survival. I feel it. I don't know. He's calling me.
Coming in at number 10, the stoplight loosejaw. Found scattered in the depths of just about every ocean around the world, these slimy black creatures with beating red eyes should have truly never been brought into the light of day. On top of its tiny insect-like frame, the stoplight loosejaw also has long, creepy needle-like teeth, but its real claim to fame is its huge jaw that can measure up to a quarter of the creature's length. Strangely, there is no actual floor to the jaw, but this is to reduce water resistance so that it can snap shut quickly, capturing its prey in milliseconds. Due to this terrifying swiftness, they are also sometimes called rat trap fish. Oh, and remember those pointy needle teeth? Well, because there is no flesh to enclose their wide hinging jaw, the teeth serve almost as spears to pierce through their prey before swallowing them whole. I'm just crossing my fingers that I don't get reborn as a bottom feeder in my next life, because I never want to come into contact with these fish for as long as I live. Next up at number 9, the black scabbard fish. A deep sea predator, this creature had fishermen confused when they first found it, as no one could agree what the heck it was. With a strangely elongated body and large fang teeth protruding from its snout, it looks like some hybrid of the alien from the Alien movies and an ancient eel. Generally they are found just west of the British Isles and known to eat many different kinds of fish, crustaceans, and cephalopods, though their favorite is apparently the blue whiting. Now, if you ever find yourself visiting France or Spain, watch out, because these eel monsters are considered a delicacy and quite often consumed. But due to their diet, you run the risk of parasitic infection if not cooked properly. So just think twice before you take your chances, or you might be looking like some strange alien creature if you aren't careful. Coming in at number 8, the rat tail. Also sometimes referred to as grenadiers, these Arctic deep sea creatures are unlike any other. For starters, they've got giant eyes and big swollen lips that hang from their underside, rivaling even the best lip filler you can get on land. Their head is the largest part of the fish, and the body slims gradually as it goes down the tail, giving them kind of a giant creepy tadpole vibe, measuring about a meter in size. Rat tails also have a light delivering organ called photophores found near the rear end, but scientists have no real clue what its exact purpose is, but it's thought that they use the light to search for food in the deep dark ocean. Despite their creepy exterior, they have been known to be found in seafood markets or even restaurants, but as for me, I think I will be steering clear from eating anything described as a rat or a tail. Next up at number 7, the chimera. With distant relations to sharks, these fish are often referred to as ghost sharks, rabbitfish, ratfish, or even spookfish. The strange alien-like species looks kind of like spooky underwater robots, as they have these unique lines all over their body that, to me at least, kind of look like pieces of welded metal. Found in almost all the world's oceans, excluding the Arctic, the chimera are completely scaleless, similarly to sharks, and on their dorsal fin have a highly venomous spine for protection. And if a scaleless, venomous deep sea creature wasn't enough for you, to top it off, male chimeras are known to have a retractable, intimate appendage located on their forehead. Now, if that doesn't scream science fiction, then I don't know what will. In the past, these cartilage creatures were hunted for their liver oil, as it was commonly used as a lubricant for guns, but thankfully this is no longer a common practice. So let's just all agree to leave these creepy robot ghost sharks in the deep sea, and we'll all be better off. Next up, in our number 6 spot, the wolffish. This deep sea creature gets its name due to its resemblance to the canine wolf species, as it has huge sharp teeth, a strong jaw, and overall predator-like appearance. But it is sometimes referred to as the devilfish for its terrifying face. Now, unlike the wolffish is actually a lone hunter, and in the cold waters of the Arctic has evolved to produce antifreeze proteins which circulate in the blood blood to keep its body functioning in the unruly temperatures. But despite this incredible evolution, the wolffish does not actually have a swim bladder, meaning it has to keep swimming at all times or the sheer weight of itself would cause it to sink. Unfortunately, the wolffish is at a high risk of extinction due to overfishing, so considering that, I think it's best we leave this scary creature in the depths of the sea where it belongs.
Now, you might think you've seen it all, but I bet you've never seen these before. The first was discovered by a Florida man, and no, not the one who went around eating faces back in 2012, but just a regular Florida guy who probably went fishing from time to time. Around September or October of 2012, the man, whose name is Gino Govecci, was walking along Pompano Beach when he stumbled across something sticking out of the sand. He picked it up and dusted it off, only to realize that in his hand he was holding a giant eyeball, and in really good condition too. Govecci, excited by his discovery, decided to get in touch with a group of Florida researchers to see if he might be able to learn more about the strange abandoned eyeball. However, was slightly disappointed after having done so, as it meant the specimen would have to be relocated to a lab across the state. While scientists were unable to determine exactly who the eye originally belonged to, they believe it to be some type of very large fish. However, Govecci believes its rightful owner to be a squid, but perhaps it's something else altogether. With no confirmation of the eye's true origin, there's really no way to know. Up next, we have a catch that is just about as extreme as it gets. In 2019, two recreational deep-sea fishermen in Charleston, South Carolina, whose names are not available to the public, made a catch that would set them up for life. Behind bars, that is, as what the men pulled up out of the water and onto their boat was a very large package, which they ripped open to reveal a massive amount of a very suspicious and very illicit white powdered substance, if you catch my drift. The two men immediately contacted the Coast Guard, who instructed officers of the North Charleston Police Department to meet the men out in the ocean until both the Coast Guard and the Substance Enforcement Administration were able to arrive. The package was taken into custody of the administration to be tested and its source investigated. Police later revealed that the weight of the catch was about 30 to 50 kilos with a street cost of up to $1.1 million. Up next, we have yet another Florida find. They really just don't have any dull days down there, do they? Anyways, the catch, executed by an unknown fisherman and captured on camera by Steve Bargeron, occurred in 2014 and was even featured on the Florida Fish and Wildlife's Facebook page. So what was the catch? An 18-inch shrimp, which now that I'm saying it out loud, I realize is a complete oxymoron. But anyways, the giant 1.5 foot long animal, according to Florida Fish and Wildlife after having examined the photos, was not just any regular old shrimp. Well, obviously, but rather it was the fast and incredibly strong mantis shrimp, best known for its ability to punch its front feet at a rate of 50 miles per hour, with reports of mantis shrimp knocking out other sea creatures and even breaking through aquarium glass. And considering the massive size of this particular one, I'd say the two men were very lucky that all they received from this animal was a cool story and a few viral photographs. Next, we have another ocean crustacean creature, and unlike the shrimp, which I actually thought was pretty cool, this one just totally creeps me out. This version of a giant isopod, which has been officially named, bear with me, Bathanomus raksasa, nicknamed Darth Vader or sea cockroach, was first captured in a pair in 2018 by a group of research fishermen off the southwestern coast of West Java, Indonesia, during a deep-sea biodiversity expedition. The giant sea bugs, one male and one female, measured in at 14.3 and 11.7 inches, the male being the larger of the two. The large size, as well as their smooth exterior, was what led scientists to originally assume they had discovered a new species. The team also agreed that this discovery was a perfect example of just how little we know about what goes on in the deep sea. A giant-eyed, prehistoric-looking monster brings us to our halfway point today. This creepy creature was captured by Oscar Lundahl, age 19, in 2019, while on a blue halibut fishing expedition. The strange-looking fish, with comically large bulbous eyes and a thin tail, startled the fisher as it emerged from the water. In fact, Oscar claimed that he was so startled he almost jumped right out of his boat upon seeing the creature. The fish was captured by one of 4 hooks on the young man's line at a depth of about 2,600 feet or 800 meters. The fish, which took almost half an hour to pull up to the surface, was later identified to be a ratfish, a distant relative of sharks. However, it looked quite different from ones previously captured in photographs and video. A likely reason for this is the change in pressure levels from the depths of the ocean to its surface. You see, deep sea fish contain fluid sacs within their cells to maintain their form under the extreme deep sea pressure, so when the pressure begins to decrease, the volume of these sacs expand, generally resulting in bulging eyes as well as the death of the animal. A massive sea creature spanning the lengths of over 2 full-grown adults is next on the list, and it is the giant oarfish, also known as the doomsday fish, as it is said to appear as a messenger from the depths right before large tsunamis or earthquakes. The animal, which is said to have been the inspiration behind many sailors' tales of sea serpents, was discovered washed up on the shores of Catalina Island in Los Angeles by Ali McAlly in 2019. A strange occurrence, as the large creatures are commonly observed trolling along the deep sea floor, so seeing the creature washed up on the sand was baffling to say the least. While this particular oarfish is not the longest to have ever been observed, that one was actually 36 feet long, it is extremely large and quite rare, coming in at a length between 14 and 17 feet.
Kicking off our list at number 10, a 16-foot sea monster. Okay, here we go. I saw this one on TikTok. A lot of users were calling to build the ark after this one was caught, and quite frankly, I agree. I'm never swimming again. Right off the coast of Chile, this creature, 16 feet long, might I remind you, it was found, and apparently it's a bad omen. To even see this colossal oarfish in the wild means a tsunami or an earthquake is on its way. Good. We love good omens in this house. This ugly lad got over 10 million views on TikTok. He lives in Arica, Chile. Let's see if we can get him verified by the new year. I kind of love him. I love how in the photo too, everybody is in shock. That's real fear in everyone's face right there. They're like, where did this come from? Sorry, what? They all see a Zelda boss just hanging in front of them. Nice. There's one guy in the photo who's like, he has his camera out and he's not even pointing at the fish. He's just like, just completely baffled. Number 9, a long-nosed chimera. I have a long nose. Nothing like this guy, but that's alright. I don't know. A Canadian lad caught this next one. His name is Scott Turner, and he's from Nova Scotia. Back in 2016, he was deep water fishing, and he had no idea what the hell he caught. And to be fair, I still have no idea, and I wrote this thing, and I'm looking at it. A fishing trawler off the coast of Newfoundland hauled this up. California Academy of Sciences says chimeras are a group of scary fish that branched off from even scarier sharks nearly 400 million years ago. So they're massive for a reason. They have, they have large cousins. It runs in the genes, I guess. Their genes run in the family. They're all jacked and scary, I guess. Crew members aboard the Canadian trawler in their late 50s and early 60s, they've done this their whole lives, okay? They've fished their entire lives, and they've only seen this maybe once in their entire career. Yeah, some deep sea horrors for you on this fine August evening. Hit that thumbs up. We're well on our way. Let's keep it going. Number 8, not a fish. Okay, sometimes you catch something that's not meant to be caught on water or on land. You don't want to catch this one. A hand explosive was reeled in. Yeah, the guy caught a military, one of those. He reeled one of those in. One of those things you use in James Bond where we always, miss. And we're like, didn't hit him all. The guy reeled in a military explosive, but he kept calm. He called the police. They came in and they were also baffled. They're like, how did you catch this? Did it pull? Did it put up a fight? What's going on? How did this hand-sized weapon make it into this little Calumet river? Or when? Zero idea. This is a common discovery in rivers. A lot of people do what's called magnetic fishing. They try and find old-timey weapons. So some European countries actually ban the sport because they don't want anybody pulling an Indiana River. Imagine reeling in something bigger from World War II, like a bigger, you get it, horrible. Number 7, Cyclops shark. Oh, I love this guy, he's so cute. Back in 1933, Dr. Thomas Hall Shasted explained in an article that the future of humans will be Cyclops, okay? They only need one eye. The human eye originally evolved to see far into the distance, but as the modern human reads, writes, repairs watches, cuts gems, swipes on Tinder, everything close up, we might just need one eye. See you later, IMAX 3D. Sorry, James Cameron, guess I'll miss that one. Well, this next catch is perfect for that future. The shark with one eye. Is he real? Is he? Help. The Cyclops shark. We saw him in 2015. You might remember him. The shark was removed from a pregnant dusky shark caught by commercial fishermen in the Gulf of California. Shark researchers have examined the preserved creature and found that its single eye is made of functional optical tissue. So it's normal, I guess, in a way, but it wouldn't have survived the conditions of the real world. Less than 50 of these abnormalities have been recorded in history ever. So there you go. 49 left to see with your one eye. Number 6, ancient antlers. Again, it's odd to find something that's not a fish, like say a World War II weapon, or say some antlers. Yeah, at first you'd think you caught a fish, but in reality it could be the antlers of a 10,000-year-old giant elk. Either one, who knows? May the odds be ever in your favor. The shape, the weight, the resistance of the water, I would fully believe that I caught a massive fish. It's like moving around with the current. I'm like, oh, what is this? No, he didn't catch any fish this time, just ancient history. Turns out when you're fishing in a local lake in Ireland, anything's possible. Just don't pull out Nessie. Please, we don't want to pull out Nessie.
Mermaids are real. Don't believe me? Well, what about this recent sighting in Australia? There have been a lot of mermaid encounters out there, and people have had some terrifying experiences. Sauce90 is a TikToker who just so happens to work on these giant boats in the ocean. Now, he's had a lot of terrifying encounters with some sort of creatures out there, and many think these creatures are mermaids or sirens. Now, he recorded a video with 2 creatures swimming on either side of the huge ship. Now, they were moving very quickly, keeping up the pace, which is honestly insane. He knew that they weren't dolphins or anything and asked people for help in identifying them, and a lot of people speculated, hey, these could be mermaids. Then there was another video he made with these same 2 swimming creatures, and they were making the strangest noises ever. Now, this made people think that they were sirens, as sirens are said to sing songs to hypnotize sailors and make them go into the water. Now, the noises are truly unsettling, and in one clip you can hear one of them say, "Jump for me." I would go back inside the boat and never come out again, because again, that is just terrifying and freaky and makes me think that they're evil. Then there was the mermaid story from Tony Woods. Tony is a comedian, but I can promise you he wasn't joking about any of this. Now, when he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, he explained that he had seen a mermaid, or what he calls a merman, in real life in Seychelles, Africa. He was with a little French boy, and people in the community said don't swim in the lagoon after dark. He then said that there was a lot of people at the bar and that he and the boy raced down to the lagoon, which they were warned about, but they didn't listen. While down there, they saw something swimming fast and it then jumped out of the water. He said it was at least 10 to 12 feet long and made eye contact with him. Now, obviously, the pair got scared and went back to the bar where everyone was, but no one believed them. The boy's mother apologized, saying he had an overactive imagination, but Tony swears that he saw this creature too. He said it wasn't a mermaid, but a merman, that it had dark skin and was half human, half fish. His head was humanoid, eyes were so big. Now, Tony says he's not the only one to have seen something like that in the area, which makes him believe what he saw was even more real. And I mean, the way that he tells this story, the body language, the inflection, it just feels so real to me. And we do know that there have been multiple sightings in Africa of mermaids, and all I can say is at least Tony had a witness with him when he saw what he saw, but wow, what a crazy story. And then a user on Reddit told this story that is absolutely terrifying. They said that they saw a mermaid once in 2004 when they were in Jamaica. They were at a bridge called Flat Bridge, which is known for its mermaid sightings. Now, they decided to go close to the water, and as they got closer, they saw a woman resting beside a rock. They described her as having her hair being red and her skin very dark. Now, as they got closer, they realized that she was a fishy type of woman with dark eyes. Now, this obviously scared the user, and they said they almost passed out from fear. They then screamed "mermaid" over and over and over again, and the creature became scared and swam away really fast. Now, the user thought that they were going crazy, but spoke to the locals, who told them that mermaids do exist and that it's normal in Jamaica. They then said not to get too close or the mermaids could take you underwater. And yeah, I think I'd have the same reaction as this person, because that is terrifying. Mermaids are real. Don't believe me? Well, what about this recent sighting in Australia? I mean, a mermaid literally washed up on a beach there. In July 2023, photos of a creature resembling a mermaid alien washed ashore on an Australian beach. Now, the image came to light via a post in the Marine Biology Facebook group, and it was exactly like a mermaid shape, said uploader Bobby Lee Oates, 34, of the skeletal remains, which she stumbled across while walking along the beach in Couple Sands, Queensland. "We were driving along the beach looking for a campsite, and we couldn't help but notice how much the skull looked to be in the shape of a human, she recalled. So we instantly stopped from the confusion as to what the hell this could be, and why does this look like a human skull. Now Bobby Lee, who estimated that the creature was 6 feet long, described it by saying it had a human-shaped skull with an elongated jawline, and hair similar to the color of a cow or kangaroo, but with hair missing in many places due to decomposition. She continued by saying it was exactly like a mermaid shape, but hairy, because it seemed to have a tail or limb of some sort. Now she posted the image to try to figure out what the creature was, but never got a definitive answer. So could this be some sort of mermaid? I think so. Then there were the soldiers who saw a type of mermaid. During World War II, Japanese soldiers were stationed in the key islands in Indonesia and had some weird encounters with what they said were mermaids. Now the local villagers were familiar with these creatures and called them orang-iken, which translates to manfish. Now these creatures were described as being around 150 centimeters tall, having spikes on the spine, shoulder, and neck. They were said to have pink salmon colored skin and a mouth that resembled a carp. Now rather than having a fishtail, these creatures had long arms and frog-like legs, both of which had talons at the end. Now the Japanese soldiers recorded many different sightings, saying they even saw one on land, but they mostly seemed at home in the water. For one instance, a troop of soldiers claimed to see one of these creatures jump out of the water onto a nearby rock. Now it turned and faced the soldiers and let out a gurgling burping noise that didn't seem to be too friendly. Then they saw another creature moving smoothly in the water towards them as fast as any fish would. Now not knowing the intention of the creatures, the soldiers started shooting at the rocks and into the water, only to have the creatures disappear.
Starting off our list today, we have the sunken city of Pavlopetri in the southern waters of modern-day Greece. The city, which is about 5,000 years old, was lost to the sea sometime between 480 and 650 AD due to a series of massive earthquakes that caused the city to sink down a little over 3 meters into the water. Rising sea levels took over from there, causing the site to become fully submerged by its discovery in 1967. Pavlopetri is the oldest sunken city, so discovering it and being able to map out 80,000 square meters of its ruins is an incredible feat. During the 90s, the area was mapped by hand, by divers carrying measuring tapes, but in 2009, more productive methods were employed, allowing for a better glimpse at what life in the forgotten city would have been like 5,000 years ago. Well-designed roads, houses, gardens, temples, water management systems, and large buildings all suggest an incredibly advanced civilization. Pretty neat stuff. Next up, we have this strange unknown creature which was recently discovered in the depths of the Atlantic. It is called the Antarctic strawberry feather star, although it looks much more like a creature from Men in Black than either a strawberry or a star. There are at least 8 species of the creature that live along the depths of seafloors around the world, generally somewhere between 330 to 3,300 feet deep. They come in a range of colors and swim by using their feather-like appendages to propel themselves forwards, backwards, and side to side through the water. These animals, classified as crinoids, are also prehistoric, dominating our waters over 251 million years ago before they suffered a major wipeout. Today, only few are observed trolling the bottom of the ocean floor. Next up, we've got box jellyfish, native to warm coastal waters around the world, including of course the waters of the western Atlantic Ocean. They are generally quite small, measuring in at just 0.4 to 11.8 inches in diameter. They are also translucent, making them virtually undetectable in water, which is terrifying because they can kill you pretty easily too. In 5 minutes, this animal can sting you, pain you, kill you, and have your friends and family calling the local morgue. That is because its incredibly potent venom has an incredible knack for sending people into cardiac arrest. While less severe stings won't kill you, they will cause you to experience an intense burning pain that can last up to 2 hours. That sounds terrible. Next up, we have lionfish, which look beautiful but have been known to cause slow and incredibly painful deaths. It's invasive and annoying, but also edible. Like I said, it can kill you, but some governments will also pay you to interact with them, and by that I mean they will pay you to kill them in an effort to maintain the existing ecosystems of Florida and the Caribbean. Lionfish are native to the Red Sea, but after 25 years of illegal dumping into the Atlantic Ocean, they have cast their net to cover much more oceanic surface area. They eat fish, crab, shrimps, and more, and have led to the extinction of many native plants and animals in the areas they have invaded. And they also have no natural predators. Of course, that's where we come in, but from a distance, because even the slightest touch from one of the lionfish's many feather-like appendages will have you wishing your affairs were in order and you never stepped into the water in the first place, and that's because they can kill you, like I said. And even if they don't kill you, for about 8 hours to 30 days, you're probably gonna wish you were dead as you go through the various stages of extreme burning, abnormal heart rates, abdominal pain, sweating, and fainting, which I will say again lasts anywhere from 8 hours to 30 days. Hell no. I also mentioned they can be eaten. They can, if they are prepared by a professional in a very specific way, because if it goes wrong, you could die. Next up, we have the Challenger, as in pieces of the Challenger spacecraft that exploded and mostly disintegrated on January 28th of 1986, just 73 seconds after takeoff, ending the lives of all 7 astronauts aboard the craft. Well, just 2 years ago, in 2022, pieces of the Challenger were found at the bottom of the Atlantic near the Floridian coast, more than 3 decades after it was destroyed, likely due to negligence. I mean, it never even received an engineer's stamp of approval before being launched. While the discovery of the spacecraft is an incredibly historic find, it is also an incredibly tragic one, as it forces us to remember that the whole thing could have been avoided if NASA had taken the proper safety precautions prior to the Challenger's launch, or listened to the engineers and just decided not to launch the thing altogether. Next up, we have the Portuguese man-o-war, and guys, I cannot stress this enough, this thing is not a jellyfish, it's a siphonophore. Oh yeah, also don't touch it, because it can kill you. The Portuguese man-o-war is incredibly toxic, and its stings can be incredibly lethal if not treated almost immediately. When a person gets stung by one of these animals' many 30-foot long tentacles, they right away experience burning sensations and break out into an incredibly painful rash. This is because of the nematocysts contained inside of their tentacles, microscopic capsules fully equipped with barbed tubes that the creature uses to insert its venom into its prey, or, if you're unlucky enough, you. While death is pretty much a guarantee for fish and crustaceans, humans have a much better chance of survival. However, many deaths have still occurred as a result of being stung by the animal after the toxins led to either an allergic reaction or a cardiovascular incident, aka severe damage to the heart. Not loving that so much. Next up, we've got the sculpin fish, which are often found in the shallow waters of Newfoundland. Hello to my maritimers out there. They're poisonous, alive, or dead. While a little nick from one of this fish's many spines located along their back won't do too much damage unless a person is highly allergic to bee stings or other foreign substances, a deep wound from one of these spines will surely spell trouble. While this animal won't kill you unless of course you're allergic, or if it punctures your chest or abdomen, it will cause you extreme pain, tingling, and numbness that can last for weeks. Its poison contains cardiac glycosides that can also really damage your heart in the long run, leading a person to live with a higher risk of death due to heart complications. If you ever find yourself fishing in the Maritimes, might I suggest gloves. Next up, we have a polychaete worm, a marine worm that will surely make an appearance in at least one of your guys' nightmares this evening. While they are not deadly, their appearance is disturbing, but luckily they're generally quite small, measuring in at under 10 centimeters, 4 inches. On the flip side, however, they can grow to be 3 meters, which is like 10 feet, so it's a no from me. Like, basically, they're either large enough to eat you or small enough to get lost in your bathing suit. It sounds horrific, and I want no part in it. They are also found at an incredibly wide range of depths, from the shallow rocky shores all the way down to the abyss. Oh, and they can also bite and sting with detachable spines located along their bodies. The pain is not excruciating, but it's unpleasant, and the spines are not easy to remove. Next up, we have the discovery of an ancient computer. In 1917, while exploring the coast of the Greek island Antikythera, an incredible discovery was made. A 2,000-year-old artifact was discovered that soon came to be known as the Antikythera mechanism, an ancient Greek device used to predict the relative positions of the planets and moons in order to pinpoint important astrological events such as solar and lunar eclipses. And the device dates all the way back to 100 BC. This artifact, which many have referred to as the very first analog computer, was found on a shipwreck alongside intact human remains, 2 rare ocean discoveries considering the importance of the artifact and the intact nature of a 2,000-year-old skeleton which should have, at this point, either completely decomposed or have been carried away by scavengers. I don't know what's going on here, but it's pretty cool. And finally, we've got holes. Mystery holes found on the Atlantic seabed that have caused scientists to say, what? In 2022, while exploring the mid-Atlantic ridge, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration discovered holes in the ridge while using a remote-operated vehicle to explore and map out the area. What had originally been an unmanned expedition to learn more about fracture rift zones and the water column quickly turned into a mystery when the organization discovered a line of small holes with little piles of sediment surrounding them, making them appear as though they had been dug by something. While the holes had been seen in the area previously, seeing them again proved to researchers that their existence was more than just coincidental, but their origin remains a mystery. So who knows, maybe we'll get a more in-depth video on them later should they turn out to be some kind of alien species.
From view. Now, a sergeant named Mr. Taro spoke to the villagers and requested if any of the orang-ikan were captured, dead or alive, to contact him immediately. It was soon after that the chief summoned the general and, to his astonishment, saw with his own eyes the lifeless aquatic creature. Now, he described what he saw as roughly 4 foot 9 inches tall, pinkish skin, human-looking face and limbs, spikes along its head, and a mouth like a carp. Now, this just sounds like something out of a horror movie. Absolutely terrifying. Now, fishermen don't get scared too easily, as they see a lot of scary things being out in the middle of the ocean, but I doubt any of them ever thought that they would come face to face with a mermaid. Yep, you heard that right. Some fishermen accidentally caught a mermaid. In an alarming video, it appears that some fishermen caught a mermaid in a net, and they were so shocked that they accidentally dropped it back into the water. A clearly humanoid arm with a webbed hand reached back at them from the net, as if trying to grab the men. Now, the men lean back to avoid it, and the net slips and falls back into the ocean, with the mermaid escaping and them being left with questions. Now, is this legit? I think so. A user commented this on the video, and I agree. They said this video is amazing, almost a real proof about the existence of mermaids. Notice that the camera is unsteady, and it means that the situation took them by surprise. The creature trapped in the net is powerful and so desperate to get rid of it, and its aspect cannot correspond to a human being or any other animal. Now, it's understandable that the fishermen got in a panic and let it go back into the sea, but that was just so creepy. And finally, we have another story about an Australian mermaid, except this one is alive and well. A short clip was posted online of what could be a mermaid swimming among a reef. In 2007, a diver off the coast of Australia claimed to have encountered a real-life mermaid. In the footage, we see a diver filming a school of tropical fish in an unknown reef, and in the distance we see a humanoid figure swim towards the camera. Now, it appears to be half human, half fish, with a long scale-covered tail. The enormous fins appear to propel the creature effortlessly through the water. When the clip was uploaded to the internet, it caused a speculative frenzy, as some herald the footage as strong evidence of mermaids. Now, analysts have noticed that the creature swims easily through the water without the use of its arms, and instead it uses its long fin tail to glide forwards. Now, could this diver have actually captured a real mermaid swimming in the sea? I think so. Are mermaids really out there hiding in our waters? I guess that's up to you to decide.
Number 5. Black marlin. Okay, for a halfway point, I need to show you the best thing that I've ever seen online. Everybody is okay in this video, first of all. Just gonna start off by saying that, okay? Great. Back in 2012, a black marlin off Cairns, Australia, jumped and landed aboard the Little Audrey. It's great. I mean, I feel bad for the fish, of course, but it's a great clip. Check it out. Sometimes you don't have to fish. Sometimes a fish will just appear. A nice 600-pound fish will sometimes jump in your boat. How scary must that be? So the fish jumps in and then throws a seat at another fisherman before going back into the water. How amazing is this? Check the guy out on the far right. He gets his head bonked by a chair because a fish hucked a chair at him. Honey, what happened to your head? Oh, a black marlin hucked a chair at me. Yeah, it was fun. He's like, yeah, I was f***ing with it though. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of deserved it. I deserved the chair. I'm okay. Number 4. Chuck Lagoon. This lagoon was Japan's main base during the war, but come 1944, the United States launched an attack, which some still deem as Japan's Pearl Harbor. So now there's 60 ships that have sunken down, and there's around 250 planes all lying in the water. It's a graveyard. So for 70 years, there's been this massive graveyard just sitting in the Pacific, and it wasn't until recently we finally got a good look at at these haunting artifacts. Thanks to deep sea divers and fishers. Yeah, thanks for hanging out in scary waters. I appreciate you. I don't like to swim in lakes, so you're so brave. Terrifying. These photos are terrifying. These fishermen have described the atmosphere, filled with, gas mask, bullet, and of course bones, as extremely haunting. Nobody was expecting these artifacts to be that well preserved either after all this time. But photos now serve as a haunting reminder of naval warfare. Number 3, deep sea anglerfish. Living at depths of over 6,000 feet, the deep sea anglerfish hunts in complete darkness. We should have never seen these fish, but unfortunately, now thanks to me, you have to. It was first discovered back in 1833 when a Greenland fisherman saw the horror up close after it washed up along the shore. They then took it to Denmark, where it was first referred to as the football fish or the man gobbler. Both great names. One's a little f***ed up, the other is kind of cool, but both great names. Female anglerfish have a glowing lure on top of their head. It's awesome and it's scary. And it's something I'm glad hides at the bottom of our ocean, if I'm being honest. This light here is created due to bioluminescent bacteria. Thousands of fish have it, and the deep sea anglerfish uses it in front of its face to hunt. Yeah, it draws in fish right in front of its massive, scary mouth. That's its main method of hunting. It has to be dazzling because, well, look at it. It's certainly not fast, definitely lacks speed and agility. Plus, living in complete darkness, they have to move slowly and rely on their senses to hunt. And as for prey, well, she'll take what she can get, no matter how big. I hope we never catch another one of these. Please stay deep and stay mysterious. Stay down, I'm good. Number 2, an eyeball. Back in 2012, this ball of yuck was found by a Florida fisherman. The classic insane Florida headline, here we go. Right on cue. The eye was the size of a softball, and for a while, beachgoers were speculating what monster it could belong to. The state's Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission determined that the eye belonged to a swordfish. And given the straight cuts on the eye, it's clear that an angler cut it out and then threw it like a shot put back in the water. How horrible is that? Awful for the fish, but also, if you found this, that would be so jarring. I'm just reeling in and being like, oh, what's that? An eye. I'm out. I'm out. And finally, number 1, Velella jellyfish. It's not uncommon to find a jellyfish or two while fishing, certainly not. But what about while you're fishing from the beach? That's a little bit odd. Especially when they arrive in, I don't know, the hundreds. These specific jellyfish called Velella are so light that the wind will push them all to shore eventually. How sad is that? Yeah, they didn't make the UFC weigh-in, so now they're getting kicked out of the ocean. All they gotta do is eat a little bit more food, that's it. Hundreds of these little guys, 3 to 6 times a year, will just get blown out of the water. What a horrible way to go. That's like us being blown into the sea slowly. I'd be like, help, please? They're blue and beautiful and only about 8 centimeters long. And back in 2014, thousands of these Velella jellyfish washed along the shore along the northwest side of the United States. They look not as great when they're on shore and dead. They look like gross deflated balloons. And again, 3 years later, thousands more wash ashore again. Little haunting. They're also referred to as by-the-wind sailors because they have a little sail that pokes above the water, kind of like a shark. They have a little sail. And their tentacles will hang underneath the surface, so they'll literally go wherever the wind blows them. How cute is that? They have a little sailor hat. Yeah, we had to finish on a nice cute note. Little fish with sailor hats. That's a little better than whatever the fish that was earlier. Yuck.
Next we have an animal that I personally definitely would not want to have caught up in my line. Caught in Port Isabel, Texas in 2020 by Alyssa Ramirez while fishing off of her pier. At first the animal appeared to be nothing more than a pile of seaweed, but upon closer visual inspection, keyword being visual, Ramirez quickly realized that that was not the case. The animal was in fact later identified as a poisonous bearded fireworm. So it's a really good thing that Alyssa recognized the warning signs and did not try to touch the animal. Otherwise, she would have been stung with a powerful neurotoxin, leaving the area of contact feeling like it was on fire for hours. Up next, we have this weird thing. Captured in 2018 off of a fishing pier in Coney Island by Natalia Vorobach and documented on her TikTok. That thing almost doesn't even look real. What appears to be some kind of alien generated a lot of interest from the public, many excited at the possibility of being one of the first few people to view a documented new species. However, this excitement was dampened when scientists claimed the animal to be a clear-nosed skate, a species of, again bear with me, cartilaginous fish with a triangle-shaped flattened body and 2 dorsal fins on either side of the tail. So basically they described the complete opposite of what Vorobach caught. I don't know, you guys, are we thinking possibly an alien cover-up? Also, let me know the coolest thing that you've ever caught while out in the water. I think mine would probably be a pufferfish, but I want to hear yours too. Next we have an unidentified furry-eyed fish caught during a February 2019 fishing expedition by a YouTuber who goes by the name of Thai Pig Patrol. The fisherman pulled the alien-looking creature lined with spines and spikes onto a small fishing boat whilst trolling the waters of a small murky river in Colombia. Thai had originally set out to find some catfish and was absolutely shocked at what he reeled in instead, describing it as the strangest fish he'd ever seen in his life, with his friends saying, "What the hell is that? This is the ugliest creature I've ever seen." Kind of harsh, but okay. Viewers of the video did identify the fish as an albino Acanthicus hystrix, a species of armored catfish generally found in rock or gravel bottom channels with moderate to strong currents. And finally, we have honestly probably the cutest creepy thing I've ever seen. I mean, it looks like it was made in a special effects lab, but its legitimacy was confirmed by National Geographic, NBC, and Forbes, along with a few other outlets. The discovery was made on October 10th of 2020 by a group of fishermen after a dead adult shark became caught up in one of their nets. Inside the stomach was 3 baby sharks, 2 of which were pretty standard, but the third was anything but. Similar to one found off of Mexico by a group of Indonesian fishermen in 2011, this was an albino cyclops shark. The shark was later turned over to local marine officials to be studied and is also one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Coming in at number 5, an unknown cartilage fish. There is creepy, there is horrifying, and then there is just straight up strange. Found by a Russian fisherman, Roman Fedorstov, we have truly no clue what it is or anything about it. All we can tell is that it's entirely made of cartilage, and due to that, it's almost completely translucent. The fish has small, spiny teeth, small eyes, and a gooey, jelly-like inside that if you look at it for too long, you kinda just start to feel a little woozy. The unnamed creature is truly an oddity of the sea, and I could have gone the rest of my life without knowing of this alien specimen, but since I had to see it, now so do you. After its capture, the fisherman took to his Instagram to share his gruesome find with the world, and whatever it is, it's not something I ever want to come face to face with in the water. Next up at number 4, the frilled shark. Though it is referred to as a shark by name, it is really more of an ancient prehistoric serpent that should have never been found. It gets its name from the fringy gills along its body, and it has been recorded to measure as much as 7 feet in length. But the worst part is the 300 tiny razor sharp teeth that line its wide hinging jaw. I mean, just imagine that bite. Ugh. Oh, and if that wasn't enough, it's covered in tiny chiseled scales that can cut you if you aren't too careful. The mysterious animal is known to lurk at the bottom of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, although it will rise up higher at night to feed before returning once again to its deep dark habitat during the day. But don't worry, they don't swim up high enough to affect your midnight swim. Coming up next in our number 3 spot, the goblin shark. You may have heard of this rare species of deep sea shark, but if you haven't, you are in for a ride. Often referred to as living fossils due to their 125 million year existence, the goblin shark is truly a terrifying sight. And if the thought of a dinosaur shark didn't scare you, to make matters worse, these creatures can grow to be as much as 20 feet in length and weigh 450 pounds. Famously known to have slimy pink skin and a huge protruding snout, it gets its name for looking so much like, well, like a goblin, but contrasted by its huge snout or its teeny tiny little needle teeth. But don't let them fool you, as it can completely unhinge its jaw while feeding. Despite its notoriety, researchers know very little about this rare specimen, as it is presumed to be just naturally uncommon. But truth be told, I am glad there aren't thousands of these lurking in the waters, or I may never want to set foot in the ocean again. Coming in our number 2 spot, squid sulcus. First discovered in 2007 by a German research vessel in the southern Atlantic Ocean, this tiny 1-inch creature freaked out everyone at first. Armed with 8 legs and 2 huge tentacles. Well, I mean, proportionally speaking, it is only about an inch big after all. The part that shocked the world was what looked eerily similar to a set of human teeth. It's like something straight out of a science fiction movie. I mean, you can't tell me that it's not creepy to see what looks like a set of dentures on a miniature squid. But truth be told, despite how it looks, it's not actually teeth at all that we're seeing, but small, round, folded lips that we can only see a small part of. Like other squids, it has a sharp beak inside that it uses to catch and eat prey, and to date it is the only one of its kind discovered, so let's just hope it stays that way. And last up, in our number 1 spot, the sarcastic fringe head. Although its name sounds like some kind of bad 90s grunge band, the sarcastic fringe head is actually a highly aggressive creature that resembles what can only be described as a real-life demogorgon. Found off the west coast of North America, they are extremely territorial and are able to fully fan out their jaws, exposing a row of razor-sharp teeth to scare off and intimidate others of its kind in hopes to get the best piece of turf. The bigger the better when it comes to the mouth of the sarcastic fringe head, but if the sheer size of their mouth doesn't work, they will actually slam their faces together and essentially mouth wrestle to get the job done. However, in a complete 180, it is actually the males that are the care providers, as once a female lays her eggs, she will leave immediately and the male will guard them until they are hatched. Whether their extreme aggression is about getting the best home or protecting their eggs, I never want to come near one of these terrifying creatures for as long as I live.
Number 5. The rare whalefish. Located in California's Monterey Bay, scientists were able to get a close look at the fish with no eyes. Yeah, so we probably had no idea any of this was happening. Everyone's like, shh. Also, it's pretty unfair just to film him without his consent. He has no idea. This little guy relies on his other senses to hunt, obviously, and pick up its surroundings. This footage was from over 6,000 feet deep, so the lack of light just decided that the whalefish doesn't need eyes. Yeah, nature and history was like, you know what? Well, you don't need them, so we're just gonna take those back. It's like, what? Give them the choice, just in case. Let them look at a movie or a cool coral. It's great to get footage of them because whalefish are rarely recorded in the deep, let alone recorded alive. Number 4, the smooth hand fish. Not to be confused with Cool Hand Luke, although that's also a pretty good time. The smooth hand fish was the first time in modern history where a marine type fish has gone extinct. Yeah, this fish was a shallow water bottom dweller, and I personally love him because he looks like a Bowser minion, except I don't want to stomp on his head like Mario does, you know? I just want to keep him. He looks like he's in a bad mood all the time. I don't know, he looks like something's on his mind. He has a horn that protrudes out of his face, so I don't blame him, to be honest. Just 200 years ago, you would have seen these smooth dudes in the land down under in Australia. It lived in Tasmania's warm waters, and what made this fish so unique, as its name hints towards, is its little smooth hands. The smooth hand fish would seemingly walk with those hands along the ocean floor, using its fins as hands. So an angry looking fish with hands and a horn would walk towards you. Hard pass, never swimming again. Graham Edgar, marine ecologist at the University of Tasmania, sheds some light on its habits, explaining that these fish were homebodies. They didn't have a large habitat. They spent most of their time sitting in the seabed with an occasional flap just for a few meters if they're disturbed. And at that point, they would just walk away with their hands from the drama, but because humans got involved, we don't see these guys as much anymore. Number 3, Chinese paddlefish. The Chinese paddlefish was one of the largest primary freshwater fish in the world, commonly measuring around 3 meters or, 10 feet long. These fish were native to the Yangtze and Yellow River basins in China. It was one of just 2 of the paddlefish family. Now, since the 1990s, this fish has been listed on the critically endangered list, with the 2 main culprits, of course, being us humans, overfishing, and habitat fragmentation. Now, unfortunately, in December 2019, because of several surveys that failed to locate any presence of these species, it has since been declared extinct. Yeah, there's a little bit of hope that I'll leave, but so far we can't find any of these. I hope somewhere there's a colony of these little paddlefish hiding somewhere and we just can't find them, Keep hiding, don't let us find you. We'll just fuck it up again. Don't let us reel you in or catch you. Sadly, it's believed that this fish went extinct somewhere between 2005 and 2010, but he's pretty cool looking, so we'll always remember him. Number 2, the snapping shrimp. Okay, this is terrifying. These things are tiny and yeah, never again. This little guy can literally create a sonic boom as it attacks you. That's how fast it is underwater. You will not see it coming, and neither did this explorer. Here's a clip of a mantis shrimp punching through a diver's swimming gear. Yeah, right through their water shoes. Just like that, easy.
Ow, that really hurt.
Isn't that insane? They're often found in coral reefs, oyster reefs, and these little guys, these pistol shrimp, they hit their prey at 100 kilometers an hour, and in doing so, a large air bubble is created, and because this Mike Tyson shrimp is so quick with the jab, the following pop is around 200 decibels. So the sound alone from the attack stuns their prey. Or if they're lucky, it'll sometimes just kill them, which is honestly how I'd want to go. I wouldn't want to get punched by one of these things. Imagine one of these the same size as you. Well, that's literally Mike Tyson, actually, now that I think about it. And finally, number 1, the electric eel. Great song, not a great animal. You don't want to poke around these guys. Awesome, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. Let's talk about them. The moray eel. First of all, don't do that. Don't go up to a random eel and start rubbing it like it's a genie lamp. That's not ideal. That was the moray eel. That one can bite your fingers off. But you should never touch an eel in the first place because a lot of them, and I mean a lot of them, are electric. Yeah, as its name suggests, these type of eels can mess you up even if you were to get the first hit, even if you bopped it yourself. Specifically, the newly discovered 2.5-meter Electrophorus volti, appropriately named after Alessandro Volta, aka the guy who invented the battery. Yeah, it's named after the guy who invented the battery. This is an animal swimming around underneath us. It can release a shock of up to 860 volts. That's more than 7 times the voltage of a wall plug. Things powering all of these units. A swimming wall plug that gets hungry. Sick. We love nature. Isn't nature lovely? Awesome. Those are the top 10 terrifying fishing discoveries that we should have thrown back. I've been your host, Taylor McWaters. Keep being you, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Want to see more videos like this one? Check out this video next. It's all about mermaids that were captured on camera. Pretty intriguing, right? So what do you think? Is the footage real or fake? Click the video now to find out more and let us know what you decide. What are you waiting for? Click the video now.